We had a stolen vehicle hit on the other side of the mall that I was standing on. Launched the drone. We found the car super fast. The guy got out, went into the grocery store, validated the car, validated the plate, got a suspect description, shared it to ground responders.
Brandon Karr, an internationally recognized expert in UAS operations for public safety. Brandon was instrumental in establishing one of the first Drone as First Responders or DFR programs in the nation, which included securing the first ever Beyond Visual Line of Sight waiver for public safety use.
Beyond Visual Line of Sight authorization is what really makes or breaks the DFR program. In the FAA side of the house, they had never written a waiver like this. So this is where DroneSense really helped with that. We were successful in this because of the features DroneSense has in that. Utilizing DroneSense's magic video link, we were able to push out the video feeds to all of patrol, all of the supervisors, everybody on duty, so they can see what the drone can do. I need to be able to see where they are and decomplete those aircraft, and there's not any other solution out there that can do that.
For other law enforcement agencies looking to adopt drone technology, what key piece of advice would you give them?
Talking to those individuals is what's going to help you not make mistakes, because you can learn from those who have already made them. It's going to help you figure out best practices. You have to.
Welcome to DroneCast. Today we're excited to bring Brandon Karr, an internationally recognized expert in UAS operations for public safety. Brandon has been a unique blend in expertise in aviation and law enforcement, having started his career in aviation in 2006 before transitioning into the public safety sector. As a former chief pilot and UAS integrations coordinator for the Pearland Police Department, Brandon was instrumental in establishing one of the first Drone as First Responders or DFR programs in the nation, which included securing the first ever Beyond Visual Line of Sight waiver for public safety use. Brandon's passion for drones and public safety extends beyond his work in Pearland. He's the co-founder of the Unmanned Tactical Group and has helped over 600 agencies develop or enhance their UAS programs across the United States. He's also a sought-after speaker at major conferences and a committee member for organizations like Drone Responders and Law Enforcement Drone Association, or LEDA. Today, we'll dive into Brandon's work on Drone as First Responders, how he's shaping the future of public safety UAS programs, and his insights into the evolution of drone technology. Welcome to DroneCast, BK. How are you today?
Fantastic. Happy to be here. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. Hey, it's great to have you here, Brandon. You're a wealth of knowledge, and, I've been seeing your face all around this industry, from old commercials to you name it. So this is great to have you on the show and on the same team. So this is awesome. Brandon, let's go ahead and dive into some of the first questions. Brandon, your background spans both law enforcement and aviation. What initially drew you to aviation, and how did your interest in flying transition into your work with drones and public safety?
Blind luck when it comes to the public safety side of the house. So way back in 2006, I was just getting into what did I want to be when I grew up kind of thing, right? And I had a buddy who went and did what's called a discovery flight, where you pay like $60, or now it's like closer to 100, but you pay like $60 and you get to go up with the flight instructor and they just let you fly the plane. And so I was like, that sounds like a lot of fun. I'm down on classes. Like, let's go do it, right? And so I hopped in, I flew a little DA-40, Diamond 40, a small little prop plane, and I was hooked, man. Like, holy moly, like, talk about freedom, getting in a plane, getting to go wherever you want to go, and with a massive engine, have a lot of fun. I fell in love. And so I was like, I want to do aviation, right? And so that's when I got into the aviation world, and I went through Airline Transport Professionals, which is the academy that I went through. And I literally lived on an airport for just over a year and got all my certifications all the way up through CIO, Certified Flight Instructor, for instrument, multi-engine, and single-engine fixed-wing airplanes.
Wow, that's awesome. So I always ask people in these episodes what their aha moment in the drone industry was, but this is your aha moment in aviation, in air at all. This is great.
Yeah, so I wanted to go into the majors and fly like airlines or do corporate piloting like with NetJets and stuff like that. But when I graduated in 2007, the aviation industry took a dive. Continental, which was the major airline in Houston, went under, and when United bought them, and they furloughed all the pilots. And so I had to look at other options because that career path just wasn't going to pan out for me at that time. And that's when I got into law enforcement. So where we integrated that in was we had a catastrophic incident in Pearland where an autistic juvenile went missing. And there was a lieutenant at the time that believed if we had drones, we potentially could have saved lives. And I was sitting in a Walmart parking lot one night trying to make sure nobody stole anything and just trying to be visible for patrol. And I found that proposal and I was like, hey, I came from an aviation background. I might be able to run with that, and asked Chief, and he said yes. And The rest is history.
Was that the moment that you ran into Walmart and bought a drone?
Yeah, like I need one right now, guys. I'm gonna try something.
Instantly. I love it. No, I'm kidding. Keep going.
That's when I got into the drone world. I mean, before that, I'd never even flown a drone. So like outside of like playing Battlefield or Call of Duty on the PlayStation, like I just never really got into it. So it's been a wild ride since then, but it's been fantastic. I mean, I've literally seen these save lives. Our very first find came full circle. We found an autistic individual and we're able to save his life, get him back to his house, and it was fantastic, right? And so it's been really fun to watch from 2017 all the way up until today, getting to see just drone industry really take off for public safety. It's been a lot of fun.
Brandon, that's awesome. You have such a unique perspective here. I love this. So when you first started working with drones in law enforcement, with that aha moment in the parking lot, were there likely many unknowns probably when you were diving in? What were some of the initial challenges you faced and how did you address them?
Well, one of the biggest challenges was like, well, I got a pilot license. Like, does that mean I can fly drones? I had the same perspective of drones as everybody else out there. Like, these are just toys. Like, I don't need anything. I can fly planes, right? Like, no. There's regulations I have to follow that are fall under a completely different chapter I've never studied with Part 107. So going through and trying to learn, and especially back then, like there wasn't a lot of training organizations out there. Like I went to Texas A&M TEACS and went through a class that they had back then, and that was okay. It was a good class, especially back then. It was one of the very few. So back then there wasn't a whole lot of resources. There weren't any textbooks. Drone responders wasn't a thing. LEDA wasn't a thing, right? Like, so you just had to kind of wing it, pun intended, and hope for the best. And so guys like me and a bunch of the other guys, like, David Merrick, some of the OGs that have been doing this for a really long time, we just all had to lean on each other and figure out, hey, what's working for you? And then I'm going to go try it here and see if that works. And then just spread the knowledge. Luckily, back then, we had a really good cadre of people that were trying things out and were willing to share that knowledge so that we can get our feet underneath us and build these programs like we have. So that was the biggest challenge. No training and no real guidance. Just had to figure it out.
Well, this is something that is woven within every episode, and I always speak about this, but the community in this industry is one of the most valuable things that we have here. And you yourself, with LEDA, with Unmanned Tactical Group, with all of this, these are the things that weren't present when you were getting started. And so you basically helped create them and create this community. So it's just great to see the start of nothing and then building it up and creating that community in front of you.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been fun. One of the most rewarding things that, you can have is helping agencies that are trying to do what you did years ago. And you're like, hey, like we got it figured out. This is the path. This is what you got to do. These are the places you want to go, drones you want to utilize, and based off of different things. Even the FAA waivers, which back then were really challenging. Now they're fairly streamlined. So it's really nice to be able to continue to help with agencies all over the world now, wearing my DroneSense hat, my Law Enforcement Drone Association hat. You get to really help and bring these life-saving tools to every corner of the earth, right?
Oh, that's awesome. Now, let's talk DFR. And I know it's such a buzzword now and so on, but still, like, I'm interviewing one of the pinnacle original members of kind of this movement, I feel like. So you played such a pivotal role in establishing Drone as First Responder DFR program with Pearland PD. For our listeners unfamiliar with this concept, can you explain what that means for drones to be considered first responder in emergency scenarios, and how does this shift the traditional response model?
So drone as first responder, that's where a 911 call drops. Somebody calls in with an issue, and a drone that's pre-positioned somewhere in the jurisdiction for that agency, typically is in the form of a dock, or if they have people on rooftops, will launch a drone. It'll fly to that call for service and provide real-time situational awareness to first responders before they're ever able to get there. Generally speaking, the drone is able to beat first responders there a little over 70% of the time for agencies all over the country. It's able to disregard first responders to that call a little over a quarter of the time, which is huge, right? And they can go and handle other calls that are higher priority as well and downgrade priority of call, not screaming across the city to try to get there quickly, right? When they don't need to be. Enable people to do triage on people that are injured, right? You can use those high powerful cameras to be able to see, is that person actually hurt or are they really hurt? And we need to step this priority up, right? So it's an incredibly valuable tool. To your point on buzzword, like it is really taking the nation by storm, and it's only going to continue to grow, right?
Soon it'll just be like a common term, right? And just a normal thing. And it's so good to see it moving from toy drones to take photos to now being this incredible tool.
100%. It's a huge force multiplier now.
That's awesome. Now, one of your groundbreaking achievements was securing the first ever beyond visual line of sight waiver for public safety. What were some of the key challenges you faced in obtaining this waiver?
Yeah, some of the big challenges that we had.
You took a deep breath there. I like that. I mean, you're the first, right? This is amazing.
I got a lot of PTSD in there, but at the same time, I have a lot of like really great memories, right? It's something that I'm sure we're going to talk about, but like knowing where we are today, that people don't have to go through that, that's where the sigh of relief is, right?
Yes.
So one of the big challenges we had back then was a couple of things. One, I was doing it a little bit ahead of the times. So just a little bit of background as to why I tried to go down this rabbit hole, right? Like Chula Vista started the DFR game. I'm a smart guy, but I'm not the brightest crayon in the box, right? I was successful because of my network. I had a lot of people help me. Guys like Fritz Reber, the original OG of Drone as First Responder, helped me a lot. Don Redmond helped me a lot in the FAA. Mike O'Shea helped me a ton. Kerry Fleming helped me a ton. When it comes to the associations, Charles Warner with Drone Responders helped me an immense amount, like kick this ball down the road and get it to come to fruition, right? So I had a lot of people in my tribe help Pearland come to success and help me come to success. But some of the biggest challenges was that the tech just wasn't there yet. So like that was one of the biggest challenges. Like we could not do traditional drone as first responder, meaning have people on rooftops in Houston because they would die of heat exhaustion in the middle of summer, right? Down here in Houston, we have two seasons, really. It's hot summer and not so hot summer, and that's the majority of the year is hot summer.
It's the place where literally you have coolers for your drone batteries. Am I right?
Right.
Yes.
So like we could have put people on rooftops. So I was like, I got to figure out something else, right? So I need a dock. Dock ones weren't out yet. So I was trying to figure out what that was going to look like. I had heard they're coming, but the tech wasn't there. Detect and avoid solutions were not readily available like they are today. So I had to go and find something that was already being accepted with back then it was called the Iris Cassia X solution that was tied to the Centra Centero fixed wing unit. I was talking with them and I'm like, hey, do y'all have anything that I could mount to the ground? Like, and I pulled those sensors out and they're like, fun fact, we got a prototype, so got lucky there. Radar was too big and too expensive back then too. So that was a challenge. And in the FAA side of the house, they had never written a waiver like this. So
you want to do what?
Yeah, fly beyond visual line of sight over people. No parachutes with an aircraft that doesn't exist yet. Like it was really challenging, and so there was a lot of people involved, a lot of discussion, a lot of meetings, but everybody had the same common goal, which was let's find a way to yes. So while back then it took me a year and 2 months to get the waiver, it was always going down the right path. It just took a while. I mean, luckily that's not the case these days, which is really nice.
Nice. Now, how has this impacted the operational capabilities of your department or Pearland PD and others?
Oh, it's huge. So I do truly believe that within the next, hopefully 5 years, realistically, probably closer to 10, that you'd be hard pressed to not find a drone as first responder program for every aspect of first responders. Firefighter, OEM, law enforcement, everybody's going to have a DFR program. I really do believe that. And the reason being is the information it provides at the rate it provides it, right? So like it's an incredibly valuable tool. It provides you with high resolution, first on scene observation. Like Montgomery County Police Department up in Maryland, right? They were able to get one of the very first drone as first responder case law out there where they had a non-cooperative victim and was able to put somebody in jail for trying to stab somebody, right?
I was just talking to Jason Kakinos about this. It's crazy, right?
Crazy, right? So like that's huge. And that's a really great example of the value of DFR. But one of the biggest things that I think that it's impacted is the ability to task first responders on calls that are higher priority and disregard them on ones that are not, right? Like we just came out of the anniversary for the George Floyd incident, right? And coming out of that was a lot of de-escalation. Like how can we de-escalate officers on these first responder incidents that they're going to, right? And DFR allows that. It allows them to show like, hey, this person's not in crisis or this person is in crisis, right? Like this person is hurt or they're not hurt, right? It allows us to be able to make better tactical decisions on how we're going to handle a scene, what level of aggression or de-escalation we need to employ into this. It also allows us to not ever go there if we don't need to be there, right? So There's a lot of really great implementations that drone as first responder can accomplish. And I think that agencies are starting to see that, which is why we're really starting to see DFR take off. It's hugely impactful in a myriad of different ways.
Wow. Now, BVLOS operations expand the potential for drones in public safety. Could you share maybe a situation where BVLOS capabilities made a critical difference during a emergency or response operation?
Yeah, well, the BVLOS side of the house is what makes DFR shine, right? We have the ability to not have to be there. So if we had to be there, right, that means we have to get on scene, we have to do first responder things, and then we got to get a drone out, right? After we've secured the scene, made people safe.
Then you go back to the trunk and then you open it up and it's like,
Right.
it's not immediate, right? It's not a part of this.
Correct. And BVLOS allows that, right? So we went from being like a response time, so to speak, of putting a drone in the air. You were looking at 20 minutes at best because we had to get there, secure the scene, then we can fly a drone. Now we can just launch and go, and we're there in 90 seconds, right? So that beyond visual line of sight authorization is what really makes or breaks the DFR program, right? Like if you have a drone program as a first responder and you don't have beyond visual line of sight, you have to be there. You have to be able to see the drone. And that adds a lot of time that gives suspects a really good head start. It gives victims not the greatest results, right? Because there's that time lag of, I need help now. I called 911 an hour ago. First responders finally got there. Now they're flying a drone, right? Like there's a lot of challenges that come to being able to respond to your communities and safeguard those communities if you're having to fly a visual line of sight at all times.
That makes sense. Now, one of your favorite people, Coit Kessler,
Yeah.
yeah, I always love that he always talks about drones as, a flying piece of plastic, but really he always talks about it as another member of your team. It kind of sounds like the DFR is kind of that, it's like another teammate, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I like to liken drones as canines, right? Like everybody, whether you're on a fire team, you're on a SAR team, you're on a law enforcement team, a canine is a member of the team. Drones are no different. Drones are just a non-legged canine, essentially. So,
Inter-quadruped conversation. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, seriously. Oh, man.
on next week's podcast with Boston
Yeah.
Dynamics.
Honestly, man, it's just land, sea, air, all these things happening. What an awesome time in this ramp of technology that we get to see all of this come together. And with DroneSense, we're literally at the forefront of all of that. Such an amazing moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, you've witnessed drones and robotics making a significant impact during emergency response situations. Could you share some real life stories where drones saved lives or played a pivotal role in a rescue mission?
There's so many of
Yeah,
them.
choose one. No.
Right? You see it all the time. One of our customers, Kyle Norfors, he just got an award for revolutionizing search and rescue utilizing drones at Law Enforcement Drone Association's conference we just had up in Ogden. They did a mock search and rescue event where they actually hung Officer Ubri, one of my best friends, and the guy who took over the program after, and they hung him off the side of the cliff, which made me really happy. But they did a mock search and rescue event, and those are real. Like they are doing that all the time up in Weaver County, Utah, right? You get to see search and rescue operations occur all over the country. People are saved. Dementia patients are saved. You have missing kids. There was a 3-year-old who got found in Virginia not that long ago utilizing drones, right? When it comes to the quadrupeds, just to talk about air, land, and sea, right? Like, I mean, Boston Dynamics spot robots are being utilized by Houston SWAT team all the time for EOD response, for SWAT responses, right? And it's just going back to putting plastic into a very dangerous location and allowing that to take the brunt of those issues, right? Like, so that you don't have to have a first responder in there that either gets shot, goes in and handles a hazmat scene. Like I know we talked to Rich Katanis about that, who revolutionized that side of the house as well, right? Like there's so many different aspects where this technology is actively saving lives. Another really good example of that is we've had incidences where we're able to do triage for people that are hurt. Like, hey, do we need an ambulance? Do we need more than one ambulance? Do we need a fire truck to come out here and help out with this? Is somebody having an overdose? Do we need an officer that has Narcan, right? Like there's so many different ways. And I think that's where you're going to start seeing the DFR game kind of evolve a little bit, is these prepackaged payload systems that have an AD, Narcan, an IFAC, or a first aid kit so that we can get it to them while we're still waiting on first responders to actually get there.
I always thought the defibrillator drone was such an amazing thing, and it still is, but like having it like particular payloads maybe in that drone in the box, like loaded to the heavy lift drone and bringing it to the location. What a concept.
Absolutely.
Nice. Now, you've helped integrate drones into various units, and we'd already spoke a little bit about Canine, but like Canine, like SWAT, and like traffic units, what challenges and benefits have you encountered in applying drone technology across different divisions?
Oh, education. Educating them on the value of it. That's been the most challenging because, again, every agency goes through this, right? A drone's a toy. We buy them for our kids, and so you have to go through and show them the difference of this isn't a toy. Are there toy variants of it? Absolutely. But this isn't a toy. This is a massive force multiplier. This is a huge asset to the agency. So with Pearland, we were gracious enough to have a city administrator and a chief that was very pro technology, right? And so we were able to talk to them and show them and like, hey, like we spent $100,000 to buy this LiDAR unit. Prime example with traffic collision reconstruction. We spent $100,000 to buy this LiDAR unit. We spend $20,000 a year on training and recertifications on this unit. We can do the exact same thing with a drone that costs $1,000 and get just as good or really close to as good of products in a quarter of the time that it takes to do the scans, right? And what that means is it opens up roadways faster, it gets patrol back on duty faster, it reduces the opportunity for a secondary crash. It opens up commerce again, especially if it's on a tollway or an expressway, right? So like there's a ton of value in that. And that's just one example, right? When it comes to search and rescue, we can search large areas faster, get those people back in, which gets those officers back on, which gets the supervisors happy. When it comes to SWAT, we talked a little bit about that a little bit earlier already, right? With being able to put plastic into dangerous locations instead of people. Like it's just educating them on these are the deliverables. This is what it can do. This is how it can keep you safe and back in service faster, right? And then once you get past that educational component, generally they're a little bit more open to it. You got to explain to them like we're not trying to take your job. We're not trying to reduce your value. We are just trying to supplement you and make you more successful faster. So that was probably the largest challenge, just the educational component.
That makes sense. And I mean, again, this community that has been created, especially drone responders, LEDA, so on, even DroneSense, like it's this community that can give that education out or be a resource for a lot of that. Is that correct?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And that's the great thing about this community, right? With public safety as a whole, we all want to help each other because we all know it saves lives, right? And so that's where you get a lot of really great opportunity, really great dialogue, right? Because you're not worried about somebody safeguarding, well, this is my knowledge. I'm not going to share it with you. Like, okay, well, that's going to kill somebody if they don't share that knowledge.
Yes.
So that's really what I think is rocketed up the public safety drone industry faster than some of the other industries is we're willing to have those dialogues, those trainings, those collaborations, right? To make sure that everybody's successful.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, what platforms or features in DroneSense have you seen made the biggest difference during a live mission?
Yeah, so like some of the biggest integrations that we have is the ability to bring in all the different solutions into one nice pane of glass. Especially when it comes to drone as first responder, coming from an aviation background, the last thing I want to do is put plastic on metal. I do not want to crash my drone into some type of crude aviation asset, right? And one thing that sets DroneSense apart is we have those detect and avoid solutions integrated into DroneSense. We have the Cassia G solution from UAvionics integrated directly into the user interface. We have a TCAS system directly integrated into the user interface so that when I'm flying beyond visual line of sight, in an office, in the police department, flying drones somewhere else, I know it's safe, right? So like that goes a really long way. The other side of that is it allows me to also be able to see where my patrolmen are that are also flying drones, right? Because DFR is not the only skin in the game when it comes to public safety drone programs. So I need to be able to know where my people are that are flying for a different search for a suspect, or if they're doing a crash reconstruction, or if they're doing a SWAT op, right? Or an undercover operation. Like I need to be able to see where they are and deconflict those aircraft. And there's not any other solution out there that can do that. So there's a lot of really great assets, but like what makes DroneSense so unique is the integrations that we have, the fact that we are not just a drone as first responder solution, we're also a platform solution, or like your everyday tactical operations solution, like that really helps stand us apart from all of the rest. The other last component that I have in that is we are a public safety software as a service solution, meaning that we have incident action plan opportunities for you to build out. We have cell phone integrations. We have CAD systems we can push to various different real-time crime centers, right? Like Fusus and Flock. We try to integrate in with any component that public safety is using because we want to get life-saving equipment to those first responders.
Quick break to highlight whether you're flying, sharing, or managing your drone program, DroneSense has everything you need. It's hardware agnostic, so it works with a variety of drones, sensors, and other hardware, giving you ultimate flexibility. And with the ability to collaborate across agencies securely, DroneSense helps you scale from 1 drone to 100 plus, supporting you in everything from routine calls to disaster response. To learn more and get started, check out the link in the description. Very well said, Brandon. And I know you and I have gone over and over again the question, what is DroneSense? And you just really just nailed it on bringing it's so many things. It's becoming the sense. I hate sounding so cliche saying that, but really it is. And that's just a wonderful thing there.
Absolutely.
Now, starting and growing a DFR program involves many components, from policy development to training. What are some of the most critical steps for agencies to consider when building a drone as first responder program?
There's a lot of things that go into a drone as first responder program.
Is there one step in this process that you just need to get right?
Yeah, I mean, you need to know what you're going to fly for. So one of the biggest things when I talk to agencies and they're like, hey, I want to start a DFR program. It's like, all right, great. Let's make it happen. Like, we think you need it too. So one of the first things we do is we tell them, hey, get with your crime analysts, get with your geospatial people and figure out where are your hotspots? Where are your call for services? Whether it is a high theft area, if it's a high crash area, or if it's an area that you have a lot of call for services from a medical or a fire response, right? If they're older buildings and they're more prone to fires, that you may want to dock out there, right? So that you can get eyes on that structure fire and figure out what's the roof integrity look like? How big or small is this guy?
DFR is not just for law enforcement. It's all public safety and fire, as you're mentioning.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like DFR is not LE only, right? Like there are so many responses, catastrophic. You can use DFR for major incidences and catastrophic responses. There's a lot of components where you can utilize DFR, but if you're going to have a DFR program, you need to know what you're going to fly for and where those locations are going to be. Because one thing that when I talk to agencies is like, do you need a DFR program? Absolutely. Do you need a DFR program in every nook and cranny of your jurisdiction? Probably not. Like there's going to be areas that you just don't ever go to. And so you don't need an infrastructure out there right out the gate, right? Like crawl, walk, run this approach. Figure out where your high call for service volumes area, focus on those areas because you're going to get the most return on investment for your council members, for your tax information, like all of that goes into play. So first step would definitely be where are you going to fly and what are you going to fly for? The next step is how many docks do you think you're going to need? Or like how many launch sites are you going to need to be able to get that coverage, right? Once you have that information, you can kind of gauge on how big your DFR program is going to be and where you need to phase roll those out.
Nice. Well said. I mean, there's so much going on and crawl, walk, run is such a great way to say that. And there's now this community that you can reach out to and you, DroneSense, LEDA, drone responders, so on, to kind of guide through what that step is and what your crawl, what your walk, and what your run might be, right?
Absolutely.
Now, what does a comprehensive training program for drone operations and public safety look like, and especially DFR?
Yeah. So if you're going to be building out a drone program, just like anything else, you have to train on it. Flying a drone is a perishable skill, just like anything else. It's hand-eye coordination. If you're not practicing that, you're not going to be successful when you get into an actual live event. Not just in terms of a perishable skill, but your equipment gets outdated. You got to do your updates and things like that. So there's a few key components when it comes to building out a training program. You have to have routine training for your most high call for service type of deployments. You need to also make sure that your supervisors are trained on what are good calls for services to fly for, what are you not going to fly for, what case law is out there for different types of operations, especially when it comes to undercover operations or SWAT operations. Like you need to know, do I need a warrant for these things or not based off of your state laws? When it comes to drone as first responder, there's also training that comes into being able to deconflict airspace, training on how the detect and avoid solutions work, all right? It's not just, I know how to fly a drone. one of the biggest challenges of DFR, when you're flying a drone, you're listening to it, you can kind of get a feel for how it's behaving, right? You get none of that when you're flying in an office for a drone that's on the other side of the city. So there's components into trusting your instruments. Like, luckily, when it comes to BVLOS, my training as a flight instructor in the crewed aviation world of flying under instruments only and trusting your gauges really translated into drone as first responder, because that's literally all you're doing.
Yeah, I've never thought about this. This is a really good look here. Yeah, like it is trusting your instruments. That's great.
Yeah. And if I didn't have that background and knowing, like, all right, it may feel weird, but I got to trust my gauges that it's doing what it's supposed to, right? Like, that's a big hurdle, especially if you come from the drone world where it's always in your hand and it's always right there, right? So there's a pretty large training component when it comes to the drone as first responder side of the house, because it's not as easy as just picking it up and moving the sticks. There's a lot of components that come into that to make sure that it's flying safely, and being to start to recognize telltale symptoms of, hey, this drone's not going to be behaving properly here in the next couple seconds, right? Where if you're flying it manually, you can see it, you can hear it, you can start to gauge that ahead of time. So there's definitely some training components that go into that. That's really challenging.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of users of these drones need to have the real world training on the product, not just the practical exam of the 107 and reading up on it and so on. There's so much real world preparation for these applications and such. Anything you would expand on there?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a program that is just getting started out and you're interested in training, there are a bunch of different opportunities out there. Just like we talked about a little bit earlier, Unmanned Tactical Group is there. There's also, with Law Enforcement Drone Association, if you go on their webpage, they have a basic best practice standard out there that talks about things you need to train your people on, like utilizing thermal, night operations, search for person tactics. There's a free best practice standard that you can utilize and download right off of their webpage. So if you're new to the program and you're trying to figure out what classes do I need to train on next, that's a really good foundation on how to do that.
It's a really good point, Brandon. I mean, with so much that's there to learn or understand or train on and so on, you don't need to go out there and reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of people that have invented the wheel many times right now, and it's pretty good. So go to those. Go to this community like LEDA, like drone responders and such.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, what strategies have you found effective in securing funding for DFR programs? And how can agencies leverage existing resources to build out their UAS capabilities without breaking the bank?
Yeah, funding's hard. Some of the best tactics that I have found is, again, the educational component. So what I have found is a lot of agencies try to keep it siloed, right? Like, DFR is primarily associated with law enforcement, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of law enforcement responses. But just like we talked about a little bit earlier, you're going to be flying for fire. You're going to be flying for catastrophic events, right? Those two divisions have budgets, and you're going to be flying for them. You're going to be able to de-escalate them. You're going to be able to escalate them, right? You're going to be able to provide them with real-time information that's valuable to them. So go to those agencies, talk about the Drone as First Responder program, because they can help supplement your budget so that you can expand more. There's also grant opportunities. We have multiple customers that have come through DroneSense that have leveraged grants. And in our blog, in the DroneSense blog section, we actually have a really great article that talks about a bunch of different avenues you can go through for grant fundings. That's right there on our blog. It's free. You can download it and go and review those. But there's really great opportunities like Walmart grants. There's the Police One grants. There's DOJ grants. There's FEMA grants. There's all kinds of things you can leverage to help supplement those fundings. Now, you may not be able to utilize those grants to buy drones in some cases, but there's a lot of components to a DFR program, right? That's not just drones. Drones are a component to the DFR program. So you can use them for the detect and avoid equipment. You can use them for DroneSense. You can use them for any other integration that you may be having to expand your program, right? It doesn't have to be just the aircraft. So get with your people, get with your other divisions and talk to them about what you're trying to do, because again, they can supplement you. There's grant opportunities. There's a lot of programs that get just generous donations. So going and doing those national night outs, going and doing your community engagements. I mean, like, hey guys, we're wanting to start one. Like, we want to bring you all in and have those roundtables with your community, because people are maybe like, hey, yeah, that would reduce our crime. We can get officers and other first responders going and handle real calls. Yeah, I'll throw money at that, right? And you can get some really great funding from generous donators of your community to be able to do that.
When you look at a drone and you see $30,000, or someone you see these massive price tags on like some really big built out concepts and so on. It's a lot. But in relation to how expensive an officer is, or putting them in harm's way and all of that, it is just the smallest fraction of the cost.
100%. And like that goes into a massive point, right? You are disregarding officers. There's a lot of money tied into having an officer or having a firefighter, right, get on scene and do their job. If you don't need them there, that's money saved, right? And not even including if you got them screaming across the city, going to priority one. There are, unfortunately, there's news article after news article after news article about a first responder screaming across an area and then T-boning somebody through an intersection, right? If you can de-escalate them and not have them doing that, that is a ton of liability, a ton of money that the city is saving on paying out those settlements to get those people the money that they deserve because an officer or first responder didn't clear an intersection properly, right?
It's well said. I know this just happened in Denver. A Memorial Day weekend, there was both a EMS vehicle that was hit when it was crossing an intersection, and then there was a fire truck that was also hit. And it's just, again, this is helping alleviate a lot of this.
Right, because like those people get hurt, that's money. Your first responders get hurt, that's money and time, right? They have to go and do rehab. They're going to be out for a while, right? That DFR program is saving those agencies from ever having to deal with that because they get eyes on in 90 seconds, right? And the typical response time for first responders across the board is 7 to 10 minutes. So definitely a cost savings there that you have to take into account when you're looking at these, because this is an expensive program to stand up. It's typically cheaper over time by being able to look at all of those aspects.
Yeah. Now, as an emerging technology, drones, DFR, the whole concept, there's often resistance to adoption, especially when it comes to something as impactful as drones. What were some of the hurdles you faced when advocating for drones as first responder, and how did you overcome the resistance from the internal stakeholders or the community?
So, shameless plug, this is where DroneSense really helped with that, right? Like we were successful in this because of some of the features DroneSense has, and I really do honestly mean that.
Really, though, like DroneSense has a great way of making really unsexy things very sexy. And the reporting, geez, like it's all the stuff that you had to walk around with pencil and paper to do.
Yeah. And one of the biggest hurdles is, again, going from a toy to an asset, right? And so utilizing DroneSense's magic video link, we were able to push out the video feeds to all of patrol, all of the supervisors, everybody on duty, so they could see what the drone can do. So it wasn't just, hey, man, like I'm not just flying a toy, so to speak. I'm able to see another vehicle almost a mile away utilizing the H-20T payload, right? Or the H-30T payload. So that was what educated them on the value of having DFR, right? And so we have Flock ALPR readers all over our city. We have traffic cams all over our city. We're building out a real-time crime center with Flock OS, and we're pushing DroneSense into that, right? And so having those components allowed us to not only be able to have better situational awareness of what's going on in our city, but it also allowed us to be able to respond to those when we needed to. So prime example, in our proof of concept days, when I was literally outside the fire department in the back of my unit, flying a drone from where I wanted to put a dock, we had a stolen vehicle hit on the other side of the mall that I was standing on. I launched the drone. We found the car super fast. It went to a nearby grocery store. The guy got out, went into the grocery store, validated the car, validated the plate, got a suspect description, shared it to ground responders, right? Immediately before anybody was even able to get there, right? The old way, ALPR reader hits, we start flooding the area with officers, and they just start looking, hoping they get lucky, right? Like because of the response time with the drone, I was able to find it fast, right? Because I was able to get in the air and go. I was able to get first responders back in service because we don't need everybody. He's in a parking lot. We got a description. We know where they're going to be. I only need 2 officers for this now, not 9. And so like that helps out quite a bit on that. And it's just little wins like that, documenting the wins that DroneSense allows you to do very, very easily. Pushing out the magic video link helps get that information to critical people that are responding to those instances, right? So like those little tidbits on being able to get the knowledge to the first responders on the ground so that they understand what you can do goes and pays out in dividends. Now, with agencies all over the country that have DFR programs, ground personnel are like, where's the DFR drone? What are they seeing? Send me the link, right? Like the people are asking for drones more than they're asking for canine these days, which is just wonderful to see, right? Yeah, and I love canines. It's just showing where the tech is going.
Yeah. Now, talking about where the tech is going, and then we're talking about FAA and all of this, and we just had a wonderful episode with Charles Warner here, and I know he's a good friend of yours as well, but I would love to expand on your take on some of this, and this is now moving from a COA to a cow. I mean, COA. Well, it's a big shift right now, and the FAA is moving like DFR approvals from COA to COA. In this whole process, what's your take on this?
This was the sigh of relief that I gave a little bit earlier when we were talking about challenges.
Nice.
Knowing agencies don't have to go through the COA process, right? The certificate of authorization process is phenomenal. Just, again, a testimony to how the FAA is growing with emerging technologies, right? Like, it's really funny. I always like to talk back about this, like way back in the day in like 2016, 2017, 2018 era, when we were going to conferences and the FAA was coming out there, right? Like, they had the mottos of, we're not happy till you're unhappy, or, we went from absolutely not to maybe, now they're at a, how can we get to yes,
True.
They are truly working with public safety on how we can get our equipment to those who need it as fast as humanly possible, right? Like, so what used to take me a year and 2 months to get my waiver, now they're getting turned around in a week, which is just wild. Like, love it, right? What used to be one of the bigger challenges is just navigating the regulatory bodies is now one of the most streamlined processes that's out there. And I love it. Like, that's huge, right? So again, a massive kudos to Charles Warner. He had a huge play in that, on being able to be that really squeaky wheel, as he calls it, with the FAA.
He is a really squeaky wheel.
He is. Yeah. That dude moved some WD-40. He's the tin man of the drone industry.
I was joking with him. I was like, "You're an influencer, man." And he was like, "Wait, what?" No. Yeah.
He is, though, right? Like, I mean, he's done some great things. I mean, he really pushed congressional members. He pushed committees. He pushed the FAA to get to where we are today. And so it's been a huge benefit to public safety and the industry as a whole because of the work that he's put in and the willingness of the FAA to work with us, right? There's a lot of entities out there that are just like, we want to work with public safety, but they actually don't. The FAA has proven time and time again in action that they are willing to work with us. And so the cow, I'm super excited about. We used to have quite extensive reporting requirements that we had to do. Those aren't in there. They have really created a really nice template for us to follow to be able to get the waivers for our first responder customers that we have. That is very, very streamlined. They've dialed into a standard finally on what they want to see in detect and avoid equipment. It's really great. And I'm very excited because from what I'm hearing is this is going to get even more expanded. So I'm stoked to see where we're going to be in a year, right? And so it's a really big benefit. It's a really big update. Check out the podcast with Charles Warner that was on it to get all the updated info on that. It was a really great one.
Nice. Diving in a little bit more on this. Now, visual observers used to be such a major constraint here. Now with detection tech, what does that unlock for real world deployment?
It's huge, right? So what I have found is like once agencies have figured out the hard parts, right? How many aircraft do I need? Where are we going to fly this thing? One of the most challenges components that's out there is how you going to staff it. And so if you're flying traditional DFR, right, like you have to have a lot of people. You got to have the teleoperator flying the aircraft in the PD. You have to have our RPIC on a rooftop. You have to have visual observers pre-positioned places so that they can deconflict airspace 2 miles around the drone at any given time, right? That's a bare minimum 3 people, 2 at best if you're doing a small scale operation, right? Like that's still people. Those people have to get paid. And my chief, I'll never forget it because it opened up my eyes. If you want to staff a location or a position 24/7, you need a minimum of 5 bodies. So like if you want DFR running 24/7 for one site, small scale, you need at least 5 people for both of those 2 positions. That's 10 people. BVLOS opens that up. Now you only need 5 to run it 24/7 because you only need a teleoperator because the tech is handling it everywhere else, right? So it really helps with the funding side of the house again. It really helps with being able to staff it so that you can get the wins to show chief, hey, we're winning. We are flying a lot. We're finding stolen vehicles. We're saving people. We're getting people in custody, right? Like all of those things and tracking all of those things really help expand that program more and more. And so being able to do that with beyond visual line of sight operations and not have to have people out there really help open up the door and reduce the barriers of entry of having to staff all of those positions to make it easy to get that program stood up.
Well said. We're at this like emerging point, right, where we have tech ramping up and providing us like really interesting and wonderful features. And now the FAA and regulations coming together and making that streamlined. We're really moving right now. It's very exciting. Now, looking ahead, how do you envision drones evolving in public safety over the next 5-10 years?
Oh man, that's a fantastic question. I mean, if you just think about like how far we've come in the last 5 years with just drone in the industry as a whole, right? Like I can only imagine how ramped that's going to end up going because there's just so many tech companies out there that are making some really cool stuff. Right.
Yes. Yes, seriously. Something new comes out all the time right now. You have to be thirsty, always trying to learn and so on. Sometimes daily. It's really weekly, but sometimes even daily now.
Yeah. You're dead on. It's
Yeah.
almost daily. But I think the DFR program, I think you're going to see more integrations. If I were to take all of it and nutshell it, right, you're going to see more integrations into DFR operations for quadrupeds, for terrestrial robots, submersible robots, right? For some of those instances, you're going to see larger frame aircraft come out because, like, drones are really great at a micro level. You're going to start seeing macro level stuff get a little bit more. So, like, I think that's where the next thing is going to go with the FAA because right now that's fairly restrictive. I can see macro level aircraft, bigger level aircraft coming out. I can see terrestrial robots coming out because like drones, even macro or micro level, that's airspace, right? Like there's stuff we got to handle inside. Active shooter response for school incidents or bigger venue areas, right? Like you're not gonna be able to do that with a drone, right? So having a terrestrial robot be able to manage those and that's still drone as first responder, right? Like get somebody moving to try to find that active shooter, to start doing triage. That's huge too, because there's still a response time to that school or to wherever else that may be. So like I could see things building out from that. There's another group that I'm in that is really starting to explore like parcel delivery for first responders, right? Utilizing fly carts. So going back to that macro, bigger level aircraft, like I think that DFR using payload delivery for AEDs, I can see them working for those a lot more. Being able to be actually able to airlift out from a DFR platform solution for search and rescue operations, right? So just getting bigger and better and starting to integrate into not just aviation, but also terrestrial and submersible aspects. I think that you're going to start to see a lot more of that in the next 5 to 10 years.
Oh, it's really exciting. I'm, just like you said, stoked to see what's next here. This is just awesome. Now, last closing question with you. For other law enforcement agencies looking to adopt drone technology, what key piece of advice would you give them navigating the early stages of implementation and ensuring their drone programs succeed?
Yeah, network.
Yeah, community, network. Yes, exactly.
That's honestly the best answer I can give you. Nobody in this industry, even the OGs of OGs, like the guys that I got mentored by, like I'm considered to be a one of the leading experts in the world on this stuff, right? But like I would never have been in my position and in my role if it wasn't for my tribe, if it wasn't for my network, right? So get on the Facebook groups and communicate with people, learn from people, join drone responders, join law enforcement drone association, go to the conferences, go to the trainings, right? Get to know your neighbors. Talking to those individuals is what's going to help you not make mistakes because you can learn from those who have already made them. It's going to help you streamline your requests because you know what you don't want to buy. It's going to help you figure out best practices. It's going to help you figure out tactics. Like there's so many components that's going to make you successful, but you're not going to be successful if you try to do it on your own. You're just not. You may eventually get there, but it's going to be a rough road that you don't need to go down.
The wheel has been invented somewhat and it's always changing a little bit, but don't reinvent it.
Right. Yeah. You're going to end up going back down to where you could have went a year or 2 years before if you had just networked. So go to the conferences. Like, I can't speak enough about the conferences. Go to the conferences. Like, you may not learn a whole lot necessarily from, like, a prime example is commercial UAVs coming up in Vegas. That is a tech conference, right? But like, you get to talk to those distributors, you get to talk to those people, and you're like, what's coming, right? And then you could come back to DroneSense and be like, that thing looked awesome, right? And if we aren't already talking to them, we can start going to the Drone Responders Conference, going to the LEDA conference. You get to talk to your peers and network with them, share your cell phone, share your phone number, your email with them, right? So that you can collaborate and just pick brains, right? So network. If you do nothing else, network.
Network. Oh, Brandon, love it. Hey, thanks again for taking the time to visit with us today and just share your wealth of knowledge and being just one of the full disruptors in this industry, and just love it. So thanks again for sharing your insights today. Really appreciate it. And then thank you to everyone on the internet listening to DroneCast. We'll see you next time. Take care. And that's a wrap for today's episode of DroneCast, rethinking public safety one drone at a time. I hope you found today's conversation insightful and thought-provoking. As always, we want to hear from you. What do you think of today's topics? Do you have any questions or suggestions for future episodes? Don't forget, you can reach out to us on LinkedIn at DroneCast, rethinking public safety one drone at a time, or head over to dronesense.com/DroneCast to share your thoughts and get more content from the show. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, rating, and sharing it with others who are passionate about the future of drones and public safety. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.